speak the truth and we refuse to abide by the new gender woo orthodoxy. Men are not women ever. No woman has a penis. Woo! Regardless of any special self-declared identity, women and girls need single-sex spaces free from all males. And women must have the right to state these facts and to say no to men in our spaces and sports without fear of retribution, violence or penalty. However, we know that's not what's happening. Free speech in this country is well and truly under attack. To quote the late great Magdalene Burns, it's not hate to speak the truth. It's not hate to defend your rights. The Greens, as well as the Labor Party, have framed our concerns as hate speech, specifically trans exclusionary hate speech. Women advocating for women-only spaces, services and sports free from all males is considered hate speech. Greens members like Linda Gale, Nina Valens, Drew Hutton here have all felt the full force of the Greens' authoritarian machine. According to the Greens, transgender women are women, transgender men are men, non-binary gender identities exist and are valid. It is as simple as that, they say. But it's most definitely not as simple as that. This is state-sanctioned human rights abuse on a societal level. Now that gender identity, something that is most certainly changeable, has been written into Australian law, such as the amendment to the Federal Discrimination Act back in 2013, we now have a collision of rights. Women have lost our existing rights to all female-only provisions in sports because gender identity has been inserted into our laws. But it is in direct conflict with women's sex-based rights as well as homosexual rights. And we know women are losing their livelihoods for daring to speak out. We're being coerced and into silence and compliance with legislation now in place across most of Australia, which permits any man to falsify his birth certificate to say female. Shame. If any man can be a female, the category loses all meaning and ceases to exist. So do all female-only single-sex spaces. This also skews our crime statistics, as a perpetrator's gender identity can be recorded in lieu of biological sex. So how can our governments possibly hope to tackle the national shameful epidemic of male violence against women if we don't keep accurate data on things like this? And it has a flow-on effect into prisons, medical settings. Elderly women and disabled non-verbal women are being denied the right to request female-only intimate care. Women and girls are being gaslit and indoctrinated into an ideology that erases the reality of our sexed bodies. I, for one, don't believe in gender identity. In the same way, many here don't subscribe to any religious belief. And we must have the right to reject this ideology and all the tenets promoted as part of it, such as preferred pronouns. And we as taxpayers must not be forced to foot the bill of these extreme body modifications, be it porn-saturated men wanting boob jobs, or vulnerable, confused, generally mentally unwell teenage girls having perfectly healthy breasts chopped off to affirm their gender. But that's exactly what Labor and the Greens have proposed under Medicare and will implement if they win another term in office at the federal election next month. For stating these facts, women like me are verbally abused, threatened, physically assaulted. In one instance, I was called I won't say the word, starts with C, ends in T, for voicing my concerns about gender ideology by a man, no less, at a women's rights rally, of course, here in the city in 2023. A man named Jade Whitler, a man who wants to be known as she, who claims a female identity, a man who the Queensland Greens went on to run as a candidate in the recent state elections. But we know that it's not just women, homosexuals who are harmed by transgenderism and queer ideology. It's an entire generation of vulnerable youth who are being lied to and confused. And as a mother, this is my primary motivation for standing here and speaking. Thankfully, things are starting to change, and I'm going to just summarise and cut off my speech because I know it's been going on and I really want to hear Drew Hutton speak. But we just need to take account of what's happening with youth. No child is trans. All children are perfect. They don't require medicalisation, and they certainly don't require experimental surgeries to live authentic lives. Sex is very real. It's based in science and biology, and it's immutable. Gender identity, meantime, has no basis in science, only ideology. So to any young people listening who might be confused about their identity, I was a tomboy like many women here. I experienced bullying in primary school. I felt uncomfortable, anxious, depressed, confused, going through puberty, and had trouble navigating adolescence. It's a very, very common part of growing up. Many of the gay and lesbians here have also experienced homophobia and discrimination. Gender-confused kids should be encouraged and supported to accept their biological reality and be given psychological and psychiatric treatment within the watchful waiting framework, which historically sees 90% of gender-confused youth realigning with the biological sex if allowed to go through natural puberty. And for girls, it's nearly 100%. I commend Queensland Health Minister Tim Nicholls for launching the review of the evidence for puberty blockers and suspending their use in Queensland. Let's hope that it is an independent investigation as it's being touted, because children's lives do depend on it. We don't want to see one more child sterilised with these dangerous drugs or their bodies irreversibly damaged. Thankfully, we may have turned a corner this week with a family court judge harshly criticising the approach of hospitals to children questioning their gender, saying the decision to affirm unreservedly any child that raises concerns over their gender is oddly binary. The judgment takes aim at the Australian Standards of Care, which, remember, is written by OzPath, a lobby group with no medical specialties. Yeah. But Justice Andrew Strum said they do not have the approval or endorsement of the Commonwealth or any state or territory government. He also said ideology has no place in the application by courts of the law. So thank you to Justice Strum, and hopefully this is the beginning of the end. We have to get activist medical practitioners and lobby groups such as OzPath away from these vulnerable children. It is for the sake of these kids that we refuse to stay silent. Leave the kids alone. Yay.